Hello, welcome back to the We Are City channel for today's video where we're going to rank Manchester City's youth players. We did this at the end of last season and it was really popular. Got around 8,000 views. So I wanted to do it again with players, some from last season's ranking, some that have not been in last season's ranking, some of the players have left and so on. We won't be using the loan players, so anyone like Josh Wilson, Esbrand, Luke Mbete will not be included in this list. But let's first have a look at last season's rankings. So the 4 players I predicted could be world class were Romeo Lavia, James McAtee, Cole Palmer and Liam Delap. Romeo Lavia has gone on to prove he probably is going to become a world-class player. I predicted that right. He's currently at Southampton, was sold by Manchester City. James McAtee, who's had a very successful season on loan at Sheffield United. Then you've got Cole Palmer, who is proving that he's not quite ready with his chance in the Manchester City side this season in the first team. And Liam Delap, who has had 2 pretty poor loans at Preston North End and Stoke City. On to could be a starter. We went with Luke Mbete, had an unsuccessful loan at Stoke City. Ended up moving to Bolton, where he's been pretty impressive since then. Callum Doyle signed a new contract for Manchester City in January. He's been okay at Coventry. These are players that I said could be a starter. Luca Barrington left the club to join Brighton's youth system, and Kaique has gone out to Bahia in Brazil, where he's shown some form, but I don't think he's ever going to make it at Manchester City, unfortunately. On to what could be a bench-level player. We went with Mickey Van Sass, who's still at the club and playing for the youth system. CJ Egan-Riley, who left the club to join Burnley. Joshua Nesbrand, who's had some pretty okay performances for Coventry, but I think Pep Guardiola doesn't rate him too highly. Adire Mabude, who will still at the City youth system, who will be in today's video. The same as Carlos Borges, who I said could be bench level. And Sam Edozie, who has shown moments of magic at Southampton, but not too many. Could be a squad player. I said Finley Burns, who went on loan to Swansea, didn't really impress. Oscar Bobby, I didn't rate too highly, and neither Tom Galvez either. But of course, these players are young and didn't have great seasons last season. I said that these 4 players must leave. That they were Claudio Gomez, who joined Palmeiro. Tommy Doyle has been very good at Sheffield United alone. I do believe he's the new James Ward-Prowse, and he's going to have a chance at a first-team Premier League club, just probably not Manchester City. Jaden Braff, who went to Borussia Dortmund and again continued to not develop at all. And Morgan Rogers has had a poor time at Blackpool as well. He is such a shame that he has not developed the way we expected. So let's have a look at the Manchester City youth system at the moment and the players I have picked out to be included in this list. So starting off with Josh Adam, a midfielder who has been linked with a £9 million move to Lorient. He came in from Celtic a few years ago. He's around 15, 16 years of age, around 19, 20 now. And I don't think he's going to make it at Manchester City. The Scottish player does show some potential at times. I have seen him when he's played and he has impressed me, but not to the level that some of the others have. And I think could be a squad player is probably the best that Josh Adam is going to get, I think, at Manchester City. I don't think he's going to get any better. Finley Burns, centre-back. Had an unsuccessful loan at Swansea City. I think he needs to move on for the greatness of his career, really. I think he's a little bit shaky when I've seen him play for the youth system at times. He's not the sort of centre-back I think Pep Guardiola would be interested in. He's not maybe as good on the ball as you'd expect. So Finley Burns, I've gone in the must-leave category. Last season, I didn't include Darko Giabi in this, who many Leeds fans are very interesting because they moved on, and maybe a lot of these youth players could be moving on in this summer window to move to other clubs, and a lot of clubs from around Europe, the fans will be coming to this channel to look at these videos. So if you are one of those people, let us know in the comments down below. We'll go Micah Hamilton. I think he could be a squad player. I don't think he needs to leave for the sake of his development at Manchester City, but I just don't think that Micah Hamilton is one of those players that shines and makes me think he is going to be top quality from what I've seen. Alexander Robertson, midfielder, an Aussie. He's played for the Australian national team, gets in the Australian national team. Unfortunately, had a really big injury at one point. I think he was like this sort of level. Pep Guardiola rated him highly, was in the Manchester City first team training sessions at around 16, 17 years of age. Now he's 20. He's had some big injuries. He's slowed down his development. And I think, personally, despite signing a new contract with City, he needs to leave the club. He needs to leave. He's only signed a 1-year extension, so City can maybe try and help him in his development. He needs to leave and find another club for himself where he can play first-team football. He's in the Australian national side in the first team, so he's obviously good enough, but I don't think he's good enough to play for Manchester City, and that's I think that he must move on. Next one is Will Dickinson. Striker. For now, he's going to go in the squad player, but you saw last season where Carlos Borges was saying the bench level, he's going to be a lot different. So it shows, doesn't it, that things can change over the seasons. Players develop at different rates. You never know. I mean, for example, Will Dickinson, when he's 24, could really, really start scoring goals. And you could say, wow, he could be a starter for Manchester City. You don't know how players are going to develop. This is just my opinion from what I've seen of these players playing for City's youth team. So, you know, I'm not always going to be right. Yes, I predicted Lavia would be world class, but I think a lot of people predicted Romeo Lavia would be world class. It's very hard to predict player potential, isn't it? I think. Mickey Van Sass, I think, could be a bench level goalkeeper in the future. He's definitely good on the ball. He's definitely got the Manchester City style to him. I just think that he won't make it at Manchester City, but you can see why City signed him from the Eredivisie or wherever he played in the Netherlands. You know, he's wanted heavily by Ajax. I think at Ajax he'd probably get a chance, maybe, but at Manchester City I don't think he will. With Ortega, with Ederson, with Carson, but it'd be nice to see him get a chance, really, because I think he is a very modern day style goalkeeper. We'll go with Emilio Lawrence. I'll go with could be a squad player, signed from Everton. I've not seen enough of him, really, to say that he could be here or here. You know, he is considered a very high potential player, but for now we'll say he could be a squad player. I think on those players that you cannot predict, you have to put in that category, really, because you really just don't know. And the same goes for Tai Soji, striker at Manchester City. Scored plenty of goals for City's youth team. There's no doubt about that. If you look at his stats, they're pretty impressive. But he's had some injuries himself. I don't think he's going to make it at Manchester City. I think he could be a squad player. And I think, for example, he could be in the must-leave category. I think maybe it's his time. That, you know, the likes of Adam, Hamilton, Dickinson, and Emilio Lawrence are still sort of heavily involved in the City youth system. Lawrence, of course, only just joined. But Tai Soji, I think, needs to move on for the good of his career to maybe try and get some appearances somewhere else. Maybe develop another youth system. You know, maybe like a Watford, someone like that, where they just teeter in between the Premier League. That could really suit him. Now, on to some of the players. The rest of the players that are now at the bottom, some that were in there last season, are going to be in these three categories, I do believe. So we'll start with Max Allain. You might not know much about. He's going to go in the could be bench level category. He could be here, Max Allain, but we don't know quite yet. Still a young centre-back, but he has really impressed youth scouts, really impressed Manchester City's youth system so far, playing for them, and I think he could be up here in a few seasons' time. He's only very young, 17, 18, but he's got the potential, Max Allain. Certainly, he looks very good for City's youth system. Up next, we'll go with Shay Charles, who I think could be a starter for Manchester City. We've got Borussia Dortmund and Leeds United, two big European clubs. Very interested in Shay Charles for the summer. Whether that be on loan or on a buy with an option to buy back, we'll see what Manchester City decide to do. But he's under a lot of interest. He's getting in the Northern Ireland or the Republic of Ireland national side, so he's obviously quality, even for his age, at 18, 19 years of age, can play midfield or at centre-back, very, very composed in the ball, and I think that he is going to be a really good player, if he develops rightly, that is. Tom Galvez, I'm going to say it could be a bench player, but he could be up here in a bit of time. Technically, he's one of the most gifted fullbacks you will see, I do believe. Real gifted fullback, signed for Manchester City last summer, but we've yet to see enough from him, I think, in the youth system to be up here, but he looks good, and I think it'll take time. He's not quite ready to be at Manchester City, and this is just a prediction of where he could be in the future. Nico O'Reilly scored a scorpion kick the other day for City's youth system. I think could be a starter. He's got that real technical quality. He has that sort of Ilkay Gundogan ability to arrive at the box in the right time. Frank Lampard had that as well. I'm not entirely sure where he could be, Nico O'Reilly, but I've got big high hopes for him, actually, from what I've seen of him. I think it will take him some time, of course, very early in his development, but keep an eye on him in Manchester City's youth team. And the same goes for Kyle Katongo, who I'm going to put in could be bench level. I think as a centre-back, it's very difficult to make it at Manchester City. You see that Luke Mbete has struggled to get into City side, and, you know, as a young player, as it's been proven time and time again, many young players come through as forward players, because if a forward makes a mistake, misses a chance, or, you know, goes to dribble past someone as a winger or a midfielder and makes a little mistake, then that's fine. It doesn't usually result in a goal. But when you're talking about a young youth player who is a defender or a holding midfielder or a goalkeeper, they can't afford to make a mistake because it tends to result in a goal. So it's very difficult for them to break into the side very early. Rico Lewis has shown that he has the quality to do that, and he must be very, very highly rated by Pep Guardiola. Kyle Katongo, I'm not quite sure on. And now to these four players that could easily be in the world-class territory. Oscar Bob, who was down here in bench level last season, I think he could be world-class Oscar Bob. There's something about him. He's refound his form in the City team this season, playing sort of in behind the striker as a false nine, and it has really worked for him. I think him and Haaland could have a good connection as they're not both Norwegians. I think he might get in the Norway side pretty soon, and I think Pep Guardiola needs to give him a few more chances for him to really impress. And the same goes for this man who I think everyone knows who he is, Carlos Borges, the name on everyone's lips at the moment in terms of Manchester City youth players. Goals galore, assists galore, speedster, can beat a man. What a player he is. I think we might lose him this summer, and maybe we've already lost him by the time this video goes out to Borussia Dortmund or someone. I think he needs a chance at Manchester City next season. The same goes for this man. These three are the three that really look impressive. Adari Mabude, he is sort of your Rafael Leao, for example, on that right-hand side. Real pace, skill to beat a player, can shoot, can cross it. These three have got to get in the Man City side next season, I do believe. Got to be promoted to the first team squad and got to be given a chance. And one that is a sort of a player that is on the fringes of that, but he's still playing in the under-18s at the moment, not even in the under-21s. It is Joel Ndala. He is just, combines the perfect combination between skill, knowing when to beat a player for pace, beat a player for skill, or pass it, cross it. He knows exactly what to do. And these four are certainly the four that you're looking at in the Manchester City youth system at the moment saying, these guys have got quality, these guys have got the potential to be real top players. Whether they make it at Manchester City, I'm not quite sure, but being forward players, they've got more of a chance. I think I'm pleading with Pep Guardiola to give these four a chance, especially, I think, Borges and Mabude. Bob just below them, and then Ndala, a youngster who's very, very young still coming up through that. And then finally, Kian Brekin, who is coming up through City's youth system. He's been nominated for the Player of the Month award, I think a couple of times now. Southampton very interested, around £10 million for Brekin, but apparently Manchester City's contract until 2026, 2027, don't want to let this guy go. They really like in his development and they want to keep him around. I think the City see him that he could be that potential starter in the future. So that is the way I rank the City youth players. These four that wants to keep a lookout on if you're a City fan: Joel Ndala, Mabude, Borges and Bob. And of course, if you're a rival fan and you sign any of these players from Manchester City, like City did last summer, letting go of Larios and Lavia and, Bazunu to Southampton, you might want to watch this video and think, wow, these players are good. If there's any of these players that haven't been ranked that you think I might know a bit about, then let us know in the comments down below. And let us know what your ranking is in the comments down below. Do you think I've got these wrong? Do you think perhaps that, Mabude isn't as good as I think? Or is Nico O'Reilly should be up here? You guys let us know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like the video if you haven't already. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. And we'll see you guys next time.